Welcome to our podcast, What Happened to the Lucky Country? The topic today is, what should the Australian government's response to climate change be?
Welcome to the podcast. We just had a misstart. What should Australia's reaction to climate change be? And we're surrounded by educated people who know this is happening, and we're surrounded by politicians who are too scared to do anything about it. Mm-hmm. And we're surrounded by politicians on the Conservative side who still don't believe it.
Yep.
So I think, I'm just throwing it out there, execution for anyone who doesn't believe. Political execution.
Political execution, okay.
So the Earth is rapidly warming due to
So can we just re-baseline? So we're starting from the premise that it's true.
Well, the 97 to 99% of actually published climate scientists agree. This is sources NASA. So I think it's happening. We're causing greenhouse emissions. Because it's America, because they have Trump telling them to ignore it, leading to rising temperatures, melting ice, high sea level, blah, 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 blah. The last decade being the warmest on record, and impacts like food insecurity and health risks increasing globally. There's an overwhelming consensus. Cows apparently are going to outstrip cars as the emitter of greenhouse gases, which is not their farts, it's apparently their burps.
Yeah.
I think we should check that fact. Might be like one of your facts from the last comment. China is 30% of emissions, America's 12%, India doesn't measure it, European Union is 27%, and the top 10 emitters in the world are 67%. And we are 1%. But Trump recently declared that he officially announced the repeal of the endangerment finding in a 2009 EPA decision that identified greenhouse gases as a threat to public safety. So America's president doesn't believe in greenhouse gases. In fact, he's stopped the EPA and put his own people in there.
Yeah, so there's the conflict right there. So
stupidity versus...
Well, it's economic stupidity versus reality, for want of a better term. As long as we touched on this last time, as long as the politicians are rewarded for short-term thinking and the people are having nothing's hurting them immediately, then we're going to have a problem. I said before, I think we're fucked, to be honest.
That would be the name of the podcast. Are we approaching the point of no return? All the things I've read have said we've passed the point of no return, but we're not past the point of return that we'll get with the worst scenario. The world's 4 hottest years have been in the last 5 years. The world has risen. The sea has risen by 1.5 degrees in 20 years. The world has increased temperature by 1.5 degrees. In 2050, sea level will rise by 30 centimetres. The Arctic will be ice-free by 2040. Deforestation is a really huge issue. And just back to that sea levels raised by 30%, there was some stat I saw on the Pacific Islands, because they're all very flat and very low, that 30 to 60% would be too much for them.
Yep.
So the real questions are, irrespective of all that, what should Australia do? Given we're 1%, and I talk to a lot of people who say we should do nothing, we're only 1%. But I don't think that's right. I think we need to show that we're in it with everyone else.
I'm probably mostly with you. I think we probably should do something, even just to give ourselves hope, but we should also realise that, we're not making that big an impact on the world. But more importantly, I'll be asking the question about, our exporting of coal.
That's a really good question. Let's come back to that. So if Australia, we're saying, is only 1%, we should still do a token amount of work. I mean, we don't want to ruin our economy. the thing I find about climate change is that people think to themselves, there'll be a silver bullet,
Yep.
everything will change, everything will be fixed, and I won't have to do anything. And I think that's one of the biggest problems. And France has banned 1 hour flights in France. So
okay.
they've done something tangible. Now, you could argue it's tokenistic, but Australia doesn't do anything like that.
No.
We, in fact, we fight the other way. Right?
Yeah, well, again, it's the political thing. So we've got the reality about, okay, well, we're an exporting country, we're reliant on coal exports, iron ore, whatever, and we've got the political problem of if I try and shut down coal, then
I'll lose the vote of
I'll
Queensland.
lose the vote of Queensland. Versus, the flip side of that is the people who buy electric cars are mostly wealthy-ish people, or at least middle class people. So it's the same problem as a lot of the things. It's the lack of immediacy for the bulk of the population facing their ability to think longer term and more strategically about the whole planet as one.
And
So-
thinking about their future and their kids' futures.
Yeah.
But how do you change that when everyone is worried about, there's a lot of people worrying about paychecks by the end of the week.
Yeah.
A lot of people worrying about medical issues and all that sort of stuff. And how do you prioritise and say this is the number one issue facing Australia?
And at what cost to fix it?
Yeah, well, I think we should be doing a tokenistic amount. I think we should be keeping up with all the world agreements on this. But the bottom line is we have 1%. We have a large body mass, country mass. Therefore, the emissions per person per square mile, per square kilometre, must be fairly low in Australia.
Well, per capita, we're actually higher than India and China and all the others. Per capita.
How does that work?
Because their population's tiny.
But I'm saying per capita we should be lower.
I don't think it is.
Wow, let's check that.
We should check that fact.
Yeah, given we had some facts problems in the recent days. So how do we change behaviours? How do we change people? I mean, you talk to our kids and they say we have to do something. At the same time, they ring Uber Eats and get their dinner delivered to them because they don't care about the emissions of the car or the slavish conditions that people work in.
Yeah, so I think we're screwed unless there's.
There's going to be a very short conversation.
But unless there's, I don't know, it depends. So unless there's an immediate, urgent event of some sort, or as you say, if we let the thing run its course and our food supplies are disrupted, millions of people are, dislocated, relocated. Unless something urgent that's in your face every day on TV at a mammoth scale that the average Joe Blow in any of the countries sees, then I can't think of any other way the world's going to be, forced to act as one.
Yeah, I can actually see a future where there is wars fought over water, deforestation, food.
And is that a bad thing? Maybe that's natural selection and...
Oh God, you're depressed today. I should have got you on a happy day.
I'm sorry, I just can't think of, any other way out of it. I can't see China's Premier, Trump, the European leaders all sitting down and saying, I know they've tried, but even then, as soon as they sign those agreements, people are going slow on and people are adjusting. There's no urgency to, we've really got to actually act.
Yeah. The first thing the Australian government did when those was come up with a statistic that we were beating the target.
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah.
By just making up facts and distorting information, which is very easy to do. What about practical things we can do? Like, could we stop deforestation?
We can stop unmanaged deforestation. Surely we can do that.
Can we have one car per family?
Well, what the part in there I found amazing was the Victorian government, at least, was taxing the electric Cars. My God. Instead of going the other way around and saying we're going to help you move to an electric car, just insane.
Let's just take it as read that the Victorian government is fucked.
Okay.
The only other thing I've got an idea of is if we stop immigration and we only immigrate people from low-lying countries in the Pacific, that would be a great relationship builder for our region and cut China out of a lot of the discussions they're doing now behind our back.
Yep.
I think that would be a good solution given the pressures on us by the Pacific nations. And selling coal. And do we stop selling coal? And how do we make sure our country continues to have money if we stop selling coal and we stop selling beef?
I don't know. I do not have an answer for that.
I think government's got to be cut right back in their spending. You've got to go with... Remember we used to do budgets for corporations and they'd say, give me an A, B and C budget.
Yep.
A is extremely lean. Like you've got a pencil. And B and C were bigger than those and included initiatives. What if we cut all our money back? I don't know the numbers, but if we stopped exporting, we wouldn't have to stop exporting everything. It's just iron ore, just coal.
Just coal, yeah. So we'd still sell our uranium.
Lithium, uranium.
Yeah, all the other minerals.
Iron ore.
Well, the iron ore, we'd still have to sell the coking coal. It's a different coal.
Because people can't
make
make steel without that.
And we've still got to ship it. So we're still seeing the boats overseas. We're driving that. But that's a demand problem. If you look at the demand, so if you flip it around again, so India, China, and probably Africa's probably got most of their own. They're still trying to lift themselves up, their middle classes up. They look to the West and see everyone living happily a good, nice, comfortable middle class life. They're still trying to lift themselves up, and India's doing a pretty good job. But that costs money and pollution.
Yeah, I thought about writing in here that we should be doing population control.
Well, that's the same answer as I had.
No, I know, but I didn't want to kill them.
I'm not saying kill them, I'm saying let them die.
Yeah, but you're going to end up with 1 billion Indians hungry and 1 billion Chinese with the biggest Air Force, Army, everything in the world looking for food.
Yep.
And you got Brazil still burning down the forests. Should we go to war with Brazil? I mean, the idiot in the White House has gone to...
Taking Venezuela.
Venezuela.
That was a smart move. Took Venezuela for their oil and then went to Iran.
So how do we change people's behaviours? We can stop eating cows. 1 car per family. 1 holiday per year.
But, again, so let's say the cows are the problem or a contributor to the problem. We'd have to make the price of meat so high, we'd either control the supply or the demand side. So if we control the demand side by putting the price so high, then eventually we'd have less farmers.
Interesting, the Buddhist mantra is we should eat 1 cow because it'll feed a village.
1 soul.
Instead of you and I having sandwiches that have got 10 prawns in them.
Yep.
So we've killed 10 for 1 sandwich and cow would have fed them. But we're doing the opposite here. We're saying greenhouse emissions we should stop eating beef.
I think that's probably doable. I know just at a personal level, we've started having 1 vegetarian meal a night. We've cut our red meat down.
Per night?
Sorry, per week, sorry.
I was going to say, what happened to you?
So we've tried it, but that's, again, tokenistic. It's like, well, I bought an electric car, only drive it 10 kilometres a week anyway, and I go to the shops.
Well, electric cars piss me off too because people think they have this moral high ground because I have an electric car. In actual fact, depends where the electricity came from.
Of course.
It was coal-fired power stations. It's shit.
Okay, let's talk about Australia and uranium.
Yep.
Nuclear power. So, okay, let's say we're brave enough to stop exporting the coal. and then we say, okay, the second step, we want to,
We're going to replace that with uranium.
well, if we moved all the, I know it's a longer term plan, like, probably like 20 or 30 years to build the power plants, but if we moved all our power generation to nuclear and obviously renewables and shut down our coal industry, we've got to work out a way, what do we do with all the coal miners in Queensland that are going to be unemployed?
Yeah, they've always talked governments about we should replace old-fashioned technologies with newer technologies and that will create jobs. But the government doesn't help create jobs.
No.
Is there technology out there that could help this problem? Yes. Is there ideas out there that could be explored? Yes. As I understand, Australia doesn't do much, and when someone does do something good, they get pilfered off to another country.
Yeah, but do you, back to the silver bullet, do you really believe that any of those avenues would absolutely revolutionise power generation at a industrial level? No. So the silver bullets...
And we're both engineers, so...
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be any silver bullet for any of this.
No.
I think we're going to very quickly get to the point, long after we're dead, where the coal industry would just be stopped. The coal industry would just be stopped. And, if you're in those industries, bloody look ahead and move out.
Yeah, but the gap, even that gap is going to be, so let's follow that path. So let's say, let's make a number up. Let's say in 20 years' time, hopefully we won't be dead by then, but, in 20 years' time they say we're stopping the cattle industry and we're stopping exporting. It's still 20 more years of greenhouse gases going into the environment.
Yeah. Well, as we said last time, there should be 50-year plans.
Yeah.
And so we should cut out exporting beef, say, within 15 years.
Yeah.
Which would probably, I don't know the percentage, but I'd say it'd be more than half.
Is exported?
Yeah.
I would probably agree with that, yeah.
And then we cut down beef, cut down beef, or increase the price of beef, which drives it down.
So we used to grandfather the technology, similar sort of similar thing, right? We're going to grandfather this.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
But
would people vote for that, do you think?
Well, see, this is a problem. Democracy doesn't work. Because you work with an accumulation of people who ask the government, what will you do for me?
Correct.
And I've always tried to vote what's best for the country. Unless the last election when they were talking about some tax, I couldn't, superannuation tax, I got pissed off with that. And it's not back to JFK saying, what can you do for your country? We've got to realise that we're a collective.
That's right.
Collectively fucked.
Screwed. Yeah.
I
think the kids sort of get that a bit, but, it still comes down to, how do you get a billion Chinese, a billion Indians and 330 million Americans or, whatever, how do you get the world to act individually for the collective good? So every decision, don't turn the light on, buy a battery. Why would I buy a battery when I can get power out of the wall?
And this comes back to what Australia should do. I think there is a role for Australia in our 1% project production of leading the world in thought and action. Because we are quite small.
Yeah.
We have got a lot of natural resources that don't affect the environment. We don't have any politicians that understand the seriousness of this. I think I was talking to someone recently, I can't remember who it was a doctor, and the doctor said, I'll be dead. It's not my problem.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
What I can hear is my kids saying boomers.
Yep.
And you think, they're fucking
They're right.
How can you argue with that?
How can you argue with that? Yeah, as long as we keep prioritising our individual, it's, it doesn't hurt me. It's not just saying about the smoker. If you're a smoker, you're 20 years old and you're smoking, and you ask tomorrow what would your advice be to today you? Stop smoking. The same problem on a global scale. It's hard from a psyche point of view to put your head 30 years into the future and make decisions today in favour of that better outcome.
And how can, if you are smart enough to do that, how can you justify to your kids that everyone else around us eats beef and goes on holidays and we don't?
Yeah.
So this comes back to the collective maturity, which is not there, and probably won't be there
until there's an event.
An event, something happens.
Yeah, or something urgent that affects them personally, or is, even if it's just upsetting them on the TV, on what do they call the kids? I'm offended or whatever.
Oh, they're always offended, that generation. I don't think we didn't spend that much time being offended.
No.
We had no time. We were out riding our bike.
Yeah. Smoking cigarettes.
Smoking cigarettes. Well, that was you, not me. What else can we do? Stop selling coal. I mean, that would be shattering for our economy.
Yeah, would.
Or should we have to measure the effect of coal being burnt in other countries because we dug it up?
Well, that would essentially be the same impact. So, we had to measure it and pay for it somehow to get to net zero. If we had to pay for so the net zero for Australia doesn't include the pollution that's generated. Let's say, say Japan buys our coal. The pollution that's generated by Japan is not included in our net zero figures because it burnt in Japan.
Yeah, but it should, because we produce the coal.
Which would essentially shut down the coal industry anyway.
Yeah. Well, we have to work our way around our politicians. It was interesting, the last summary point of our last podcast was the elected officials don't have the guts to do anything about these things. We're at the same point on podcast 2.
Yeah. Same problem. The immediate problem being a Prime Minister is about my immediate sphere.
Maintaining control, maintaining the votes, maintaining the public persona. Yep. When no one is supported or measured on bravery.
So let's go back to democracy then. So now we're back to...
Is democracy good?
Is democracy good, right?
Well, see, if you didn't have democracy and you had the right person in power and you had a benign dictatorship...
Because, when we compare this to, say,
Singapore,
organisational change, right? Yeah. So one of the reasons we were successful is because we always went in and made it very clear at the front, we need the authority to do this job.
Yeah.
We need the authority to make decisions to get this thing done without any of all the internal politics and other crap. And, we've had a few conversations about it, and we won't take that client on because we won't get it done unless we've got the authority to get it done. So... so unless we get to the point where the world decides, well, let's put these 3 people in charge to make decisions for the greater good of the whole planet. I know they're trying it with the conferences and stuff overseas, and it's a nice start, but they're just...
But no one goes to them and no one cares about it. And then Trump gets in and, of course, the whole of America's dropped out. Yeah. Even though they're only, 20% compared to India and China, who are doing nothing.
But so again, we need to fact check this. But my understanding of his problem with the United Nations, he got 1 seat, but he was virtually 50% funding the United Nations. So he goes, well, this doesn't make sense. I'm not defending Trump, but on some of the decisions, you go, well, actually, he might be right.
Well, that one was that no one was contributing their fees.
Yeah, okay, it was.
And he stopped. He did something and said, if you don't contribute your fees, I'm closing it all down. And he's trying to close down NATO now, which is interesting because it's pulling the world further apart, not bringing it closer together at a time where there has to be collective agreement. It's hard not to agree with you that we're fucked, but I just can't help but think, but what do we do? I mean, what do you and I do? I mean, we have one car. We ran a farm off the grid, and we learnt the behaviours that you had to live by to live off the grid. We had wind and solar power, and it worked pretty well. You just had to think consciously about things, and you couldn't use a toaster or a hairdryer. So maybe those industries are dead.
So I don't know. So at an individual level, horrible conclusion. okay, so let's vote the Greens in.
Yeah, but the Greens don't have green policies.
Not any, that's true, not anymore. It started off that way.
It started off that way.
That's true.
And the Greens are idiots.
Yeah.
But even if the Greens went in, they'd have to have a full spectrum of policies across the board, not just in green, because people are not stupid enough to vote
No,
on
that's true.
people with one policy.
Yeah, that's true.
You'd have to get rid of the idiots that are there because they're just there to create a fight and create public sentiment, popularity through sentiment.
Okay, so let's go back to So before this podcast, I had a quick check on ChatGTP. So I better get my facts right this time.
So you've got AI to tell you what the facts are.
No, I asked what the general consensus in the scientific community was about addressing global warming. And I came back with 3 basic principles. It said, stop what we're doing, so do no more harm. That makes sense. 2, start working on how to reverse what we've done. And 3, prepare for the outcome.
Prepare for the outcome.
So
they're acknowledging we've gone past the point of no return.
Yeah, absolutely are. They're saying even if we stop, even if do no more harm, we stopped right now. We've done enough already to cause problems. So I'm seeing that every day. You said before, the 4 hottest days, it's wetter, the storms are worse, the sea ice is collapsing.
So there'll be no more ice by 2040 at the North Pole or something.
Probably Antarctica.
Yeah.
But then you've got Greenland as well. All that carbon dioxide is trapped in their grasslands up there, the frozen grasslands.
But is an American going to take them over?
Only for a nuclear base. Only for a
So can we agree that Trump and Trumpettes are leading us further from collective agreement?
Absolutely.
But who is leading us towards collective agreement?
I think the Canadian and the French are probably doing not bad.
Yeah.
The Canadians are usually pretty good in this area. But they've got the same problem. Okay, well, what can we do? The last conversation I saw was that they're a middle power, and they class Australia as a middle power. How do the middle powers collectively get together and put pressure on the superpowers to actually start doing stuff?
Well, we can't because Trump doesn't listen to anyone.
Yeah.
European Union is getting that sort of arsehole-ish position where the European Union, we don't need to listen to anybody. Yeah. They're very friendly, but they say no behind your back.
Yeah.
Trump says no to your face. India just can't afford to do anything.
No.
They couldn't cut back. Well, they cut back on beef consumption because it's a religious animal. But and China has still got third world nation status.
And we're yet to see Africa. We're to see Africa come online. So once Africa starts trying to lift out of the middle class, that's the next wave of China, India, Africa. Africa's huge. Trying to get all those people out of the middle, up to middle class. They're going to be using the same arguments. Well, the Western world's been polluting our planet for 200 years, and now look at where you're sitting. And who are you to tell me that I can't do the same for my people?
Yeah, this is the same concept of a kid living in a house who does conform and saying to Dad, why can't I have beef? They have beef next door.
Yeah.
Why can't we have a four-wheel drive? They have a four-wheel drive next door. It's got to be unanimous and it's got to be global and it's got to be everyone. But we need to bring Africa up. Some of those countries have to bring up. And we have to bring Australia down. And no one will vote for Australia living a life that we can afford economically and environmentally.
So again, it comes down to personal impact versus global thinking.
Well, personal impact, I can't think of anything I can do, apart from this podcast, to tell people, your kids are going to live in a place where, what were they saying, 1.5 metre increase in sea level will get rid of most of the Pacific. That's extraordinary.
It is.
And the Pacific nations are all hassling Australia to do more. And we've got immigration out of control. I just see there's an answer there to turn immigration back to anyone from the Pacific nations.
That would make sense.
And then that whole conversation goes away.
But you convince those people in the Pacific to give up their homeland, and just they've got to face reality that's gone, rather than trying to fight. That or put more money into protecting what they've got, like build dikes or something. I don't know, around the island. Who knows? But they need to make a decision.
Yeah, I don't think there's rich places that can build a dike around an island.
No.
I mean,
So again, getting back to our business experience, we'd say we need the authority to get stuff done.
Yep.
We need the resources to get stuff done,
yep.
and no one to question us, or at least minimise the crap.
Yep.
We need the burning platform to create the problem, or to articulate the problem.
Yep.
And we need everyone to understand that problem that we're articulating
is real,
and even though it might not be today, or in 12 days' time, or in 120 days' time, it is coming.
The burning platform is the one
we're missing.
Because 90% of people, I'd say, you'd ask, are we damaging the planet? And 90% would say yes. Yep. I'd say 90% would also agree that we're doing something that is a one-way journey.
If we ask that same 90%, what are you prepared to give up to avoid it?
That was the next question I was going to ask. And I reckon 90% would say nothing.
Yeah. Or I might have vegetarian once a week.
Or I might drive a hybrid ute. I'll still have a four-wheel drive, and I'll still damage the environment.
Yeah. I think again, sort of jumping around it. The technology thing. If we can solve the battery technology problem, like at scale, we might have a chance.
Yeah, so of stopping it progressing anymore.
Of stopping it.
Yeah, so I don't think that's big enough.
That's what I'm saying. To do it at batteries at a global scale is beyond our reach.
So if you had a 5-year plan saying coal will be not produced or sold within 5 years, then our uranium sales will go up.
Yeah.
Because everyone will have to build nuclear reactors.
Yeah.
So economically we can sort of trade that out. I just can't get my head around people voting for things they know will hurt them. And you and I have been alone long enough knowing that the end justifies the means in this case.
It does.
And while it doesn't affect us, we're passionate about trying to fix it.
Yeah. So we're back to we're screwed.
Well, the last thing I wanted to bring up was I see a future. America went into Venezuela because of the oil production and the largest accumulation of minerals across the board anywhere in the world being unexploited. So America's put a president in that's favourable.
They've annexed them essentially, yeah.
Fucking believable. So they're selfishly doing that. And they're selfishly saying everyone else has to fix the environmental problems. China's saying the same thing. China's saying I'm a third world nation, but it's got more tanks than everyone else in the world put together.
But for me, in my mind, it's the same quandary at different levels. So let's say, so at a local level, it's me as an individual versus what I should do for the community as a whole. At a state level, it's my state versus the country. At a global level, it's my country versus the region, and then it's my region versus the world. So every single time, the question's the same. What can the smaller, actor in that relationship do to make a decision that's better for the greater good? In every case, and the Trump thing is a good example, right? So he's faced the same. If America was an individual, he's going, well, me as an individual, I've now taken over Venezuela. I'm right, mate. I'm right, mate.
You're all fucked.
You're all fucked. I'm right.
Yeah.
So it's not just about changing, one or two things. You need to change the whole relationship between individual and greater good. Individual and greater good. So states are the same. So you said earlier about Queensland and coal. Well, if the rest of Australia said, no, we're going to shut down coal, Queensland's going, fuck you, we're going to leave the nation.
Yeah, well, they're going to take rugby union with them. I was just thinking whether democracy and fixing climate change are mutually exclusive. What if we had one body that ran the world and set the rules for the world? Then you'd have to have it enforced. And you're going down a path of...
Yeah. And, you know, and the unfairness of that, given the current situation, is probably part of the problem. As, you know, we said earlier on about China's lifting middle class, India's lifting middle, Africa's coming next. So they're all different stages of, you know, industrialisation.
We have to agree a standard across the world, and we need to lift everyone up that's below that to that level.
Or turn down.
And bring us down and America down. And now no one's going to vote for that.
That's not going to happen.
No, not in our lifetime.
No.
There'll be satellites, there'll be meteors hitting the ground every 10 seconds.
Yep.
And they still wouldn't do it.
Yep. So short of, you know, so a couple of things in my mind. So, do you remember the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still?
Yeah.
So, something...
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves, the second version was. Comes out of space, big, urgent, immediate, I can wipe you all out unless you all fall in line. Bang, problem's fixed. Same thing with this book I'm reading at the moment, the Hail Mary Project. So part of the backstory is to get the world to act as one, that the world agrees this one woman is in charge of everything. Every resource, every country, all the military, whatever she thinks we should do, it gets done. And that's a fascinating part of the book because it talks about she's got a Chinese aircraft carrier doing research on one thing. She flies an American helicopter with Russian scientists onto the Chinese aircraft carrier. No one argues with her. Whatever she says gets done. And we would need to get
to that level.
And that is not going to... So we either need a spaceship to come from outer space...
and take us away?
Or threaten us. You know, the greater threat.
Yeah.
That's the other way.
It's very popular in Hollywood movies at the moment. The downturn in the economy, downturn in the environmental situation and what happens to the world and all that sort of stuff.
Which is good because it's sort of popularising. I understand. I sort of get that. That's probably good.
It is popular, but it's entertaining us.
Yeah.
And I can't get past the fact that democracy and climate change are mutually exclusive. While we've got democracy, we've got selfish voters, stupid politicians. We won't get climate change done.
So yeah, I'm with you. I agree 100% with you. So the other example in my mind is COVID. Right. So COVID raised its head around the world.
In China.
It's a Chinese disease. Yeah. It's a virus from China. So we almost saw some level of alignment. We worked hard on getting vaccines. A lot of places took the vaccine up, but a lot of places went to lockdown. Parts were still disbelieving and, all that sort of stuff. So you saw parts of America, parts of Australia even saying, I don't believe it all, I won't take the vaccine. But, that was a taste of how urgent and how immediate the problem would need to be.
Yeah, I think it has to be worse than that.
I agree, it's a taste. I'm saying it's a taste.
As a taste, yeah. I think it'd have to be the water level rising by 2 metres for people to start realising, or it's rising 2 centimetres a year, something tangible that you can say the dikes in the Netherlands will flood in 3.5 years.
The average Australian would turn TV on and say, oh, geez, they're in trouble.
You're right. So is it the fact that people are uneducated, or is it the fact that people are selfish?
I think it's just human nature
to protect what's yours.
And like I said to you last week, Paul Keating, back self-interest. It's just part of our nature, I think.
So we're going to wait for a spaceship to take us somewhere else, or to fix all our problems,
or threaten us,
and the only way that would work is if we stopped eating meat, and stopped flying, and we stopped driving our cars.
I know it's a shit position, but I can't logically get to any other outcome.
No. The interesting thing, we both did our investigations separately.
Yeah.
We came back to the same conclusion. We're fucked. And I'd add to we're fucked that democracy and climate change are mutually exclusive.
Well, I'd probably agree that you say, unless the immediate problem presents and part of the solution the world agrees Trump's in charge or one person's in charge.
That's the problem, though. In itself, who's the person in charge?
Yep.
It's Trump. We're all dead.
Yep.
Because guns will be rife and deals will be done, and there'll be bloody Trump Tower in every suburb. But if you have a good dictatorship, looks like Singapore.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They the CEO takes a salary of $2 million a year, from memory, but he doesn't do anything else. He doesn't take any corruption, as far as I know. Whereas I lived in Malaysia and Indonesia, and they both. It was just, what do I get out of this? It's very confronting. I don't know.
It's a sad way to, it's a sad conclusion to land on, but I just can't think of any other way that the world is going to change.
So if you were going to move your house now, what would you take into account in moving to a smaller apartment as you're retired now?
Proximity to services, so I didn't have to drive around a lot. Probably whether it was solar, whether it was somewhat off the grid.
Multiple layers of security.
Multiple layers of security. So even then, if you get multiple layers of security, absolutely. But even then, if you go back to how do we deal with the outcome, that includes things like building different types of buildings.
Yeah.
So start thinking now, okay, what do we do? Let's say the weather is going to get worse, sorry. Let's build hurricane-proof houses. Let's build tornado-proof. Let's build higher walls, whatever it might be. But I think that's the part where the government might start acting now.
Yeah, I think that's the only area they can start acting. If we took a community like, say, in, Caulfield, and you said, we're going to build a community here and put a dome over the whole thing.
They would absolutely go for it.
That would go through. But people would buy it because you'd think, that actually future-proofs what might happen with people roaming the streets pinching food, food diversity, all that sort of stuff. Man, we bought here on the third apartment with 3 layers of security because shit's happening out there.
Yep.
If you're in a house, people kick your head down, kick your door down, and you can't say anything about it because they're black.
Yep.
So, I'm sure we'll get comments from that one.
Well, generally they seem to be, So, the machetes, well...
Yeah, I reckon we just put them in a room with me.
Yep.
Sort it out.
Yep.
Anyway, I think that's about all. I think
we've solved nothing.
Solved nothing, which is our aim in life.
Correct.
And we've come up with 2 conclusions. The world is fucked, and democracy and climate change are mutually exclusive. And I would add a third that I would not be surprised if wars are run over natural resources and food.
I think that's inevitable.
And petrol and things like that shortly.
I think that's inevitable. My father told me that when I was 30, 40 years ago. He said to me eventually there'll be wars over water.
Yeah. I always thought BHP would be a natural resource is water. And it's because they're onto natural resources. If they bought water, but then you actually don't want the corporations buying the water.
No, you don't want that. No. Well, we saw what happened when they did the Murray-Darling.
Yeah. No water goes downstream to the farmers. Okay, mate. Do you want to leave it there?
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. This is the most important issue of our age, and it's important to our children's lives and their children. Blame the boomer, and I am a boomer. This started before our watch but continued past the point of return on our watch. There is no silver bullet, so don't expect one. We are past the point of no return, but not far enough gone that efforts cannot be made to minimise the effects of global warming. Your behaviours must change from I want everything I had before to I must adjust to this new paradigm. It's no longer let's convert the electric cars or stop eating cows at this point of our decline. There must be a global complete agreement that everything must be done. And to achieve this, we need politicians to stop worrying about the budget when the planet is dying and leaving it to the next generation is too late. While there's complete agreement, all politicians of the world must be aligned with one voice, and you can't get two of them to agree on the weather. The political system as it is will be the end of the world. And while very well-intentioned people protest, nothing short of complete overthrow of governments will achieve our goals. Democracy is mutually exclusive with fixing climate change as it sits now. I'll say that again. Democracy is mutually exclusive with fixing climate change as it is now. We're stuck in a loop of politicians in short cycles, keeping their power rather than being brave and acting on the evidence. It's hard not to say our children will be fucked, but anything short of meteors falling, seas rising substantially, aliens coming to Earth to fix our mistakes on pain of death, will the world come together and act as one. Maybe we need a global dictatorship, but we might get Trump. I personally would rather it be a female, because I think we'd get more efforts out of a female. Thank you.